So here's something weird about successful civilizations. They stop having babies. Not immediately, not all at once, but there's this consistent pattern where empires hit their peak wealth, and within a generation or two, birth rates collapse. Rome's birth rate dropped so dramatically in the 1st and 2nd centuries AD that Emperor Augustus passed laws penalizing childlessness and rewarding large families. Didn't work. Japan's birth rate has been below replacement since the mid-1970s, and their population has been shrinking since 2008. South Korea hit 0.72 babies per woman in 2023, the lowest ever recorded. The US dropped below replacement in 2007 and has stayed there. And here's what's really strange. This happens specifically in the richest, most successful periods. Not during famines or plagues or wars. Those cause demographic crashes for obvious reasons. This is different. This is wealthy, peaceful, educated societies voluntarily choosing not to reproduce at replacement rates. But here's the uncomfortable part. Every civilization that follows this pattern eventually faces a fiscal crisis they can't solve. Because modern economies and empires are built on continuous growth. When the population shrinks, the math behind pensions, government debt, and military power all starts breaking down. Which raises some questions. First, is low fertility actually a leading indicator of imperial decline? Or just something rich societies do that doesn't matter? Second, what's the mechanism that turns individual reproductive choices into civilizational crisis? And third, the really uncomfortable one, what does it mean that nearly every developed economy now has below replacement fertility, including China? Cool. So let's dig into the prosperity paradox. And yes, talking about birth rates gets political fast. So let me be clear. This isn't moralizing about family size. This is archaeological pattern recognition, looking at what happened to other civilizations that followed this path. Either there's an actual economic mechanism linking prosperity to demographic decline to imperial crisis, or we're seeing coincidence. Let's start with Rome. 1st century BC and 1st century AD. Absolute peak wealth. They'd conquered the Mediterranean. Roman citizens were living better than basically anyone before them. And the birth rate among Roman citizens dropped. Augustus passed the Lex Papia Poppaea in 9 AD, penalizing unmarried and childless citizens and rewarding large families. You don't pass laws like that without a serious demographic problem. The mechanisms were straightforward. Wealthy Romans had urban lifestyles where children were expensive rather than economically productive. Wealthy Roman women had more education and autonomy, correlating with lower fertility. And they had access to family planning methods that poor provincials didn't. So the Roman citizen population stagnated, while the overall empire population kept growing through conquest and immigration. By the 3rd and 4th centuries, Roman citizenship had been extended to basically everyone, partly because there weren't enough ethnic Romans to fill the army or the bureaucracy. Did low fertility cause Rome's decline? Rome fell for many reasons: currency debasement, military overextension, political instability. But here's what's suggestive. By the 4th and 5th centuries, they couldn't field armies of Roman citizens. They were hiring Germanic mercenaries because they didn't have enough young Roman men. The demographic stagnation didn't cause the crisis alone, but it made Rome much less able to respond when other problems emerged. Let's jump to Japan, because this is the clearest modern example. Japan in the 1980s was peak empire, second largest economy, manufacturing powerhouse, people asking if Japan would overtake America. Japanese fertility hit replacement level in 1973, then dropped. By 2020, it was 1.34. Population peaked at 128 million in 2008 and has been shrinking since. This happened during Japan's richest period. The mechanisms look similar to Rome. Urbanization made children expensive. Women's education and workforce participation increased. Housing costs in Tokyo made large families prohibitive. Japan's working-age population peaked in 1995 at 87 million. By 2020, it was down to 75 million. That's 12 million fewer workers in 25 years. What happens when the workforce shrinks? GDP growth becomes really hard. Japan's growth has averaged maybe 1% annually since 2000. Tax revenue becomes harder to grow. Pension systems break because you have fewer workers supporting more retirees. Japan's old age dependency ratio went from 20% in 1990 to 48% by 2020. Japan's response? Massive fiscal deficits. Government debt hit 260% of GDP by 2023, highest in the developed world. Debt-to-revenue ratio around 12:1, well past the 8:1 threshold where empires historically hit trouble. Japan hasn't faced crisis yet because they can borrow domestically, and the yen is considered safe. But their savings rate is declining as the population ages. Whether they muddle through with low growth and high debt or eventually hit crisis is genuinely uncertain. Now China. Even after ending the one-child policy, Chinese fertility kept dropping, 1.3 by 2020, possibly below 1.0 now. This is happening as China reaches peak wealth. The mechanisms look familiar. Rapid urbanization, rising housing costs, increased education for women, economic pressure where raising children is expensive. China's working-age population peaked around 2013 and has been declining since. Some demographers estimate total population peaked around 2021. Here's the geopolitical part. China's rise was predicated on a massive, young, cheap workforce. That's ending. By 2040, their old-age dependency ratio might hit 50%. They'll face the same math Japan does: shrinking workforce, growing elderly population, fiscal strain. China might overtake American GDP, but it might not if demographic decline accelerates. An economy with a shrinking workforce has a really hard time maintaining growth rates. Japan's experience suggests you can muddle through with low growth and high debt, but you don't become the dominant global power that way. Same pattern across Rome, Japan, and China. Peak prosperity leads to fertility decline. Fertility decline leads to workforce contraction. Workforce contraction leads to economic stagnation and fiscal stress. The US and Europe are following the same path. US fertility hit 2.1 in 2007 and has been below since, reaching about 1.6 by 2023. European fertility has been below replacement since the mid-1980s, with Italy and Spain around 1.2 to 1.3. The saving grace for the US has been immigration, roughly 1 million people per year. But even with immigration, the median age is rising, and the dependency ratio is climbing. Social Security's trust fund is projected depleted by the mid-2030s. Europe has less immigration and lower fertility. Germany's working-age population is projected to shrink significantly by 2050. The EU's working-age population probably peaked around 2010. But maybe demographic decline doesn't matter like it used to. Maybe modern economies can grow with fewer workers through automation and AI. Maybe we can support elderly populations without needing a large workforce. The case that demography is destiny. Every empire with sustained fertility decline eventually faced fiscal crises they couldn't solve. The math is brutal. You can't maintain pension systems, economic growth, and military power with a shrinking workforce. Automation helps, but hasn't solved this in Japan, despite 3 decades of trying. The case that this time is different. Past empires didn't have automation, AI, or modern productivity growth. Immigration can offset fertility decline. Japan hasn't collapsed despite 30 years of demographic decline. They've just had low growth, which might be sustainable indefinitely. My assessment? The demography as destiny case is probably stronger, but not deterministic. Japan proves you can maintain a wealthy society with demographic decline, but probably not rapid growth or expanding global power. The fiscal math is real. Fewer workers supporting more retirees means either higher taxes, lower benefits, or later retirement. What's uncertain is whether automation changes the equation. If we can maintain productivity growth with fewer workers, maybe demographic decline is manageable. But we're betting on technology solving a problem it hasn't solved anywhere yet. Also, there's a military dimension. Empires need young men for armies. Rome couldn't field citizen armies by the 4th century. China's shrinking youth population means fewer potential soldiers. If global competition for power continues, demographics might matter more than economics. Looking at the US in 2024, we're following the same demographic path as Rome, Japan, and China. Below replacement fertility, aging population, rising dependency ratios, projected fiscal strain. Are we doomed? Not necessarily. We have immigration. We have better automation than Rome. We might figure out policy solutions previous civilizations didn't. But the archaeological evidence is not encouraging. The pattern suggests sustained below replacement fertility creates problems that eventually undermine empire. Rome followed this pattern. Japan is following it now. China is starting. The US and Europe are maybe 20 years behind. The uncomfortable truth is, we won't know if modern technology can overcome the pattern until we're deep into the experiment. We're living inside the demographic transition that might define whether American dominance continues or follows the same decline path. What we can say, every previous civilization with sustained fertility decline eventually faced serious economic and fiscal challenges. Whether those challenges proved fatal depended on immigration capacity, technological innovation, political stability, whether rivals were rising simultaneously. But the challenge was real, and the fiscal math was brutal. Maybe the smart approach is to take the pattern seriously while hoping technology can break it. Reform pension systems now. Encourage immigration. Invest heavily in automation to maintain productivity with fewer workers. Prepare for a world where power might shift based on demographics as much as technology. Or maybe accept that empire requires growth. Growth requires young populations, and sustained below replacement fertility means accepting reduced global influence. That's a hard pill for Americans to swallow, but it might be the pattern we're following whether we like it or not. The pattern shows us what happened before. It can't tell us what happens next. That's both the frustration and fascination of economic archaeology. The patterns are clear, the mechanisms make sense, but the future remains genuinely uncertain until it becomes the past.